Greetings and salutations and welcome to Illegitimate Legends, the show where I like to talk about some of the more unusual League of Legends builds. And I actually surprised myself this week. I didn't think this build was going to be that great, and it's not as good as other builds, but it could have been much, much worse. This is AP Irelia. Now, a lot of people ask me in-game, and probably out-of-game as well, you're probably asking, isn't she almost purely a physical champion? And yes, there is some truth to that. But she does have some nice AP ratios, and I'ma tell you why. So let's look at all of her abilities. Let's actually do the full detailed analysis. Her passive, she gets reduced duration of crowd controls depending on the number of champions near her. That's not gonna be affected by AP. Blade Surge. Irelia dashes forward to strike her target, dealing a set amount of damage, 140 at level 5, plus the 100% of your AD. So, good damage ability. If you've got high physical damage, you're gonna get a lot out of it. However, it also applies on-hit effects, which makes Lichbane give it a 1-to-1 AP ratio. That's the kind of thing that I really love, abilities that apply on-hit effects, because Lichbane just makes those abilities insane. So Blade Surge effectively has a 1-to-1 AP ratio. Hidden style physical attacks restore some of your health, and when it's activated you deal true damage on physical attacks. This is the ability you're going to get the least out of with this build, because I got no attack speed items. I probably could have thrown in a Nash's Tooth, but in essence, I found this a very pokey build, a kind of dash in, then avoid combat while you waited on cooldowns. So, hidden style's not going to have a big impact on how much damage you're dealing, despite the fact that it is true damage. Equilibrium Strike. Equilibrium Strike pierces her target, dealing 280 plus a 0.5 AP ratio. Magic damage, slowing the target or stunning them if they've got more health than you. 0.5, I keep trying to say 1.5, 0.5 AP ratio is pretty good. It's nothing special, but you'd be surprised if you stack up Equilibrium Strike early, how much damage you can get from it. Finally, her ultimate, Transcendent Blades. Each blade has an 0.5 AP ratio on it. It also has a bonus physical damage ratio, which I'm not entirely sure on the numbers of, as well as a base damage of 160 at level 3. So, yeah, another 0.5 ratio, nothing special. However, you get 4 blades. That equates to a 2.0 AP ratio. If you can land them all, that's a lot of damage with high damage, high AP items, like a Rabadon's Death Cap, like a Lichbane, and you can always use it to proc extra Lichbane attacks to deal more damage in a melee engagement. So there's the numbers. In terms of the fighting style, it's very pokey. Particularly early game, you want to dash in and deal damage quickly and then dash out. High burst potential. Very, very different to Irelia in that you want to be avoiding standard Irelia, that is. You want to be avoiding a drawn-out engagement because you're not going to be getting much health back from hidden style. You're not going to be getting much true damage from hidden style. You're missing out on that big impact, so you want to be dashing in and getting out. Do your best to make that happen. One thing this is going to sound weird, but don't be ashamed and don't try and find a reason not to use your ult. I used my ult, particularly when I was playing mid lane. I used my ult every time it came off cooldown, because it can get you so much health back. You can use that ultimate for lane sustain, as well as ranged poke, or ranged harassing damage. Yeah, an ultimate for ranged harassing damage. I did it for an entire... I was one-on-oneing, mid-laning against an Anivia. I kept out of her range so she couldn't hit me, and just farmed up minions when I could. And whenever my ult came off cooldown, I would harass her with it, and it would destroy her most recent minion wave. She'd lose health, I'd gain health, meaning that I was out sustaining and out farming her with absolute ease for the entire game. It seems like a strange concept to be using an ult with a relatively long cooldown. Relatively long when it comes to farming, but relatively short when it comes to ultimates, because it's only about 45 seconds with the item build I went for, which doesn't really have that much cooldown reduction, so you could get it more often if you wanted it. So yeah, use your ultimate. Just all the time, use it. It is really, really good for both dealing damage. Later game, yeah, probably not so good for farming, but it can destroy enemies without you getting yourself into trouble. So let's talk item build. I didn't really get beyond the first 4 items, so the last 2 are... I'm not sure if they're the right thing to go for. But start off with boots and potions. Probably 2 health potions and 1 mana. Turn that into Boots of Lucidity. Then rush your Lichbane. Yeah, a lot of people say don't rush Lichbane because you'll get the Sheen, and then once you get the Lichbane it'll reduce your damage output. But if you've got the right AP Masteries and runes, you'll be fine for that. It will, by the time you get the Lichbane, it will be better to have it as a Lichbane. Then go on into Rabadon, starting with the needlessly large rod, of course. Get yourself a Cage's Lucky Pick at this point. It's very late, but Deathfire Grasp is a really good item. And then hold on to that pick until you've got a Hextech Gunblade, then build the Deathfire Grasp. And finish off the whole thing with a Moonflare Spellblade. You could probably throw in a Nash's Tooth instead, but it synergizes really well with her passive, meaning that CCs do nothing. No one's gonna stop you doing your damage, which is really important because this is a very squishy build. Despite the spell vamp, you're going to take a lot of damage, and when you do take a lot of damage, it's going to hurt. That was how I played AP Irelia. It seemed odd, but the amount of games that I won or did amazing things, like we were losing, horrendously losing, and I managed to pull out a pentakill in our base, not a penta, a quadra-kill in our base without towers. Yeah, their team had been messed up fairly substantially, but you can deal a lot of damage that's quite surprising for a lot of people. And despite the fact that it's magic damage based, mostly, people will still build armor. So that's just how it works. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week with another build. Thank you, and good night.